Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Destination weddings are hotter than ever before, and there's lots of different destinations. One of the most romantic, sought-after destinations is Hawaii. That's easier said than done, unless you have friends or family there. How do you set up a destination wedding in Hawaii? Well, you find a professional. I've got her right here. A lot of insight we've gotten so far. Going to keep that going with Becky Ringler. She is our professional of the year, and she's the owner and founder of Simple Kona Beach Weddings. Welcome back. How you doing?
I'm great. Thanks for having me again. It's really fun. I'm glad to be here and chat about something that I love very much. So nice to be here, Steve.
Well, it's something you love, and you begin the love in terms of the wedding and relationship for a lot of people, but you don't do it alone, right? You work with your husband?
I do. It didn't start out that way. He started coming along, like I started this business, and well, I should say that in the beginning, he was at several of my weddings, and now he's kind of a staple at all of them. My husband, Matt, they also call him here Uncle Dude. Long story. Basically, we had a neighbor when we moved in, and he's like, "Hey, what's your name?" They're like, "Matt." And he's like, "Well, my name's Matt." They're like, "Well, we can't have two Matts." And they discovered that he was older by a little bit, so they started calling him Uncle Dude. So anyway, that's so around town, and sometimes our couples call him that, but his name is Matt. So we offer something really special with our weddings, which is we always take cell phone photos for our couples. In addition, especially if they hire a professional photographer, so that their friends and family do not get in the way of the pro photographer while the wedding is happening. But people really love kind of instant gratification for getting those photos right away. So he takes them during the ceremony and often afterwards for the couple. So that everyone else can just really be present and be there with them. He did take 3 years of photography in college. He's really good at taking photos, and he's very, very funny. But one of the other things that I would say that Matt is wonderful at, he is great. He's very gregarious. He can talk to anybody. I mean, I felt like I was outgoing until I met him. So he's really great. When I'm setting up, he's like chatting with everybody and making sure everyone's okay. And if there's any wild card people, he tries to turn them around and kind of bring them in, or a sullen teenager who doesn't want to smile. He can almost always get everyone to be comfortable and to smile, and it really adds to the vibe. It's really fun. So, yeah.
Wow. And this is, if I remember correctly, right around 2012, you both moved to Hawaii from upstate New York?
No. So we moved here in 2013 from the Bay Area of California.
Okay.
I'm from upstate New York, but
Gotcha.
we've been living in California. That's where he's from. He has, before we moved here, he'd been to Hawaii maybe 20 some odd times. His father was stationed at Pearl Harbor before he was born, but was there, and they had a love affair. His family had a love affair with Hawaii. They were always coming to Hawaii. I always dreamed of going to Hawaii, so it worked out really well. But yeah, it's been really fun to sort of see the transition where now he's an integral part, and it's really fun, Steve. Also, if we do like an elopement, where maybe they don't even hire a pro, like it's totally last minute. They don't hire a pro photographer. It's just the two of us and the two of them. And it can be really fun. We have a great time together. And it means a lot that, we're a couple, they're a couple. And it just seems to kind of add to the intimacy of the situation, which is really nice, because I think it's really special. But also for the large events, obviously it really helps. There's a few other really kind of fun things, but I don't want to talk a blue streak here, Steve. I'm curious if you have any questions, but otherwise I have a couple of really funny things that he does.
I'm good. I'm intrigued how this all, for you, your business, starting a new life for couples, almost started organically. It doesn't sound like you said to your husband, let's start a wedding planning business. We'll go to Hawaii. This will be fun. I will do this. You will do that. This will be amazing. No, it just kind of all the pieces came together and fueled by your passion, and maybe his too.
Yeah, I mean, what happened is, we moved here, and a few shows ago with Jill, I really went into this. But when we moved to Hawaii, I actually was injured. I was bedbound for several months with a back injury. And I was kind of like figuring out, I had I still have a dating and relationship coaching business.
Oh, wow.
And
how interesting. How interesting that is. So once we nailed the dating and relationship, now we're on to weddings. There you go.
And we will talk about that at a future call. Nice. I wrote a book several years ago, right before I started the wedding business. And I'm revamping and going to be republishing that. And so we'll talk about that more then. But throughout this process, after I recovered, and then they found out I had colon cancer, but then it was okay, I was like, what do I need to really focus on? And for me, that was love. So love really is at the center of everything that I do, feels really important. And a friend one day was like, hey, you should really do weddings. And I was like, oh, it was like a total, like epiphany kind of thing. And so I did everything I needed to do to get, to be able to legally do weddings here in Hawaii. I set up a website. This all happened in like one afternoon. Wow. And then the next day I told everybody, and I had my first booking, and it just kind of snowballed. And my husband's further involvement kind of happened over the years. We've been doing this. It'll be 10 years on April 29th of this year. And but that first one happened before we were officially a business. It's been 10 years since we did our very first ceremony, which was a vow renewal for some friends' parents. But it just sort of just evolved into this whole thing of its own. And it became this just wonderful, beautiful, happy thing. And I just feel so grateful every day because and the fact that I get to do this with my husband every time we go to the beach, it's like, I can't believe this is our office. Like still, I mean, we've been doing this a long time now, and he's still like, wow, this is really the best. And I'm like, it really is the best. We get a lot of couples who are like, so this is what you guys get to do? And we're like, yeah, this is what we get to do. I mean, there's a lot of planning that I do. There's a lot of setup. I would say that my husband's role is very much at the ceremony. That's where he comes in. Occasionally he'll give travel advice to people because he's really good at that. But otherwise he helps because I also do all the setup most of the time. So I'm busy. Like I meet everybody and I greet everyone, but I'm like setting stuff up. And so he entertains them, distracts them. So it works out really well.
You said something that I want to just mention again, in that you said this whole thing came about in an afternoon. Came out, put it all together. Now what that says to me, you execute it and get it done, and done well. And now you translate that to a wedding. You have somebody coming. Yeah. They're going to use your services. You got a lot of pieces going on there. Instead of marinating on it, I'm sure you're a take charge person and just say, all right, I'm going to book the restaurant. We got to take care of this, take care of that. Bam, 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 bam. Done with love. That's it. Would you say that's you? You just get it done?
I'm definitely type A in that way. Yeah. I'm an action taker. Mm-hmm. I think of something, I decide to do it. I do it. And it very much helps with planning, right? So I respond typically very quickly to emails. I always tell my couples, like, hey, if you want to talk, like, let's talk. I want to make sure. I hate it when people procrastinate, and I don't like to be served by somebody who, like when we got married here in Hawaii, it took forever. Nobody would ever call me back. Nobody would ever get back to me. I had so much anxiety about it wanting to go well. I was okay with it being however it was, but I wanted to just know that it was going to happen. And so for me, that's something that feels really important, is to make sure. And once everything's kind of set, like we have things, then I always tell my couples, like, hey, I'm going to check in with you. We're all set. We've chosen everything. We'll talk, once we've had all the calls. I'll talk with you a month before your wedding. But if you need anything in the meantime, anything comes up, I want you to email me. If you want to call, we can have a call. I want you to know I'm here. And I have had a couple of couples like the husband told me at the wedding, he's like, oh yeah, remember those times that, that so-and-so reached out to you? She was having a nervous moment. And he's like, and I just told her, just email Becky. She'll take care of it. Don't worry about it. And I was so glad that he took that in and remembered. And then she always felt better. They were just, I feel like I want people to really know that I'm here for them and they don't have anything to worry about. And that we're going to make it really fun. So,
you know, what's interesting too, and we'll move on to a different topic in a moment, but many times I've encountered this response when calling, and it could be Caribbean, could be Hawaii. They're on island time, where it's just a different way of life. Now, us here on the mainland, I got to find out, this. I need to know this because we're wired that way. Especially here in New York. That's the way we're set up. So therein lies maybe a little bit of anxiety if somebody doesn't get an answer fast enough, because that's what they're used to. But it seems that you address that and you're always available and you've got it taken care of.
Yeah. And the main thing, though, that I would remind people is that we're on a way different time zone. So especially if you're on the East Coast, we're 6 hours behind you. I'm not going to respond to you at 3 a.m.
Well,
just
of course.
because you wanted to, but I think it's just sort of remembering the time zone. But I always try to get back to somebody in 24 hours.
Sure.
Usually it's much faster than that. But, I always say in my email, like 24 to 48 hours, just in case there's like a super busy wedding time. But yeah, I feel like living here has made me more relaxed. Like I don't worry too much about it has allowed me to relax and to help people relax when they get here. But at the same time, when it comes to getting things done, I'm still going to get things done. Because I just, that's really important.
Well, you said, type A. There you go. What should we look at now? What are you feeling?
There's a lot of things to talk about. I do want to tell this one story, Steve, that I keep thinking about before we move on to the next thing.
Sure.
There's two things. I was when we're talking about my husband, I feel like the main reason why I'm so glad that he works with me, we really enjoy each other's company. And my couples are always like in their reviews, they're always like, Matt was so funny. I wasn't expecting like this extra little bonus or something like that. And I will share with you, in addition to what he does at the weddings, the main, I guess this would sum up his humor very well. We got married, we got engaged in Thailand, and we were at a hotel. This is before we got engaged, I think, but we were at this hotel, and we get into the elevator, and we're going up really far. We get into this elevator, we step in, and it's packed with employees, and we're like stuck there facing them. There's no way to turn around, and we're just like in there, and it's super awkward. We're all just like standing there facing each other. It's super quiet. And he goes, so I suppose you're all wondering why I called this meeting. And of course, everybody just like burst into laughter, and it made the whole ride so much more fun, and everybody started chatting. He knows how to break the ice and kind of create experiences. And I feel like I bring that on the front end. And of course, the wedding day, they're always like, oh, I feel like I know you. It's so nice. That always makes me so happy. But it's really nice to have someone along with you who can immediately just sort of make people feel comfortable as well, even if most of the time they haven't met him before. So that's really nice. And I just wanted to share that because it's
I appreciate that. And you know what? That gave even a better, not that we didn't have a great view, but now it's crystal clear. And it's also your personalities complement each other, and we all have strength. This is one side, somebody does this, the other side, somebody does that. And let's face it, how many times has somebody gotten married in Hawaii? Probably never. So it's a new experience. It's a new area that somebody is visiting. It's a whole different culture. So there could be a little bit of, quiet anxiety about that. So yeah, breaking the ice. How about ceremonies that remember someone. It comes up a lot of times, in call them traditional ceremonies. Now, this is a little bit different because it's in Hawaii. Maybe there's different cultures involved. What are some of the things you do to remember somebody that isn't here, can't be at the wedding?
Yeah, and I always will talk with people about that because there's a lot of really, to me, this is a really personal thing. So I always will chat with somebody about it. Back in California, by the way, I used to work at a funeral home selling funeral insurance. And I would pre-sell, like I would help people plan their funerals before they needed it. So my job was on
By the way, I just want to share with you, I have a marketing company and we work with, among other categories, many funeral homes. So I know what you're talking about in terms of the pre-planning, et cetera, et cetera. I get it.
Yeah, and you know what? It's actually, I will say it's a pretty important thing, and it's funny. I've worked in kind of these, like, over my lifetime. I've worked in hospitals, funeral homes, child abuse prevention centers. I've worked in all these, like, and now I feel like I've chosen to work in things that make me really happy. But in any case, so I'm not uncomfortable is the point, talking about this and really wanting someone to feel like they can remember their loved one. But there's so many ways to do it. There are very subtle nods if they don't want to make it something very pronounced, because maybe they don't want to cry on their wedding day, right? So that feels really important. I mean, there are things as simple as, like, people will have like a little framed photograph of a loved one, and then they pin it to their bouquet, or they put it, so there's lots of ways, or they tie it around with a ribbon. We've had people put photographs of their loved ones, like, kind of as audience members in the sand. There's a part in the ceremony where I have them hold a lava rock that they've picked out wrapped in a tea leaf. I have them hold it during their I do's, but one of the meanings of that is, I always say, it serves to hold and hear their vows for any loved ones who could not be here today to witness this moment. And that is probably the most subtle way. Because I say that every time, because there's a lot of times just people aren't there, like, just in general, people that are still with us who are there, who can't be there. But when they have lost somebody, it allows them to fill in the blank for who that might be. I can certainly name them if they want me to, but most of the time they feel like it's just like a gentle acknowledging of that person and bringing them present with us there. So there's a lot of little ways, and again, we talk about that. Sometimes people want to, like, can we spread so-and-so's ashes after the ceremony? I'm like, I want you to, I'm totally great with that. We can find a moment, but I want you to decide if you want to merge those moments together or not, that kind of thing. So I really will talk with them about, is that something that they want to do a different time? Like, is that, or is it really important to both of them to honor that person in that way? That kind of thing. Because we are right by the water, so you could technically do that. Most people, after we chat about it, decide to do it at another time. But I'm comfortable with whatever they would like to do, and we have a good chat about it.
It's everybody's choice. My first thought on that would probably be a different time, because then you make it a different ceremony to highlight it. And right. I want to go back to when you were saying, those that can't be with us. If you mention the name, so let's say you say, and we also want to remember Betty, who can't be with us. Well, Betty could be my mom, and I don't know her as Betty. That's Mama.
Right.
Everybody has a different way they address someone. So to allow them to get that picture in their mind of who that person is, I think is wonderful. Yeah, you could say the name. That's perfectly fine, but it's different when you don't. Does that make sense?
I totally. I mean, and this goes along the lines too. Like, for our weddings, I always ask a couple if they'd like me to mention God, not mention God. It's their ceremony. I want them to know. I want them to be. It's for them, right? So it's not about what I think or I want. And also, even if I do, it is a very light, non-denominational mention of God, unless they ask me to put something specific in. I often do people from various mixed religion, or someone's an atheist and someone's not, or spiritual, not religious, kinds of things. Because, but what I find is that everyone always tells me, like, that was perfect. That it's vague enough, kind of like this, those who are not with us, where you can put your own meaning into it. without me having to say what that is. And it really helps because I would say, if you're really religious, you're not going to get married with me. You're going to get married in a church, or have a very specific pastor that you choose to do that. But otherwise,
Is he coming with me on the plane? Because I'm in Hawaii.
yeah. So the point is, it's like, I feel like it is specific enough that even my one where I don't mention God at all, people have told me that they really feel like that they can just add that because it brings in all of the Hawaiian element. It brings in the sense of place. It brings in there's certain Hawaiian elements that really bring in a feeling of whatever that is, like a universal love, but really tied with being here, which I find really special. And I do want to mention, although I do some Hawaiian elements in my ceremonies, I don't chant, for instance. I'm not Hawaiian, obviously. For those of you that can't see me, I am not Hawaiian. As you know, I'm from upstate New York, and I'm not descended from Hawaiian descent. If you can't see me, if you saw me, you'd probably realize that. So I feel like I am very respectful for what it means. The Hawaiian elements are not put in there to be cheesy or like this is what people want. They really mean something, and the essence of what they mean is really important to me. And my Hawaiian musicians love my ceremony. They're not shy. If I was doing something wrong, they would tell me. They're very, but I feel like, they've told me many times that I have the spirit of what it means. And that to me is really important. And I'm not going to do something though that crosses a line because I feel like this is about honoring the culture and I'm not trying to take and use it, if that makes sense. So it's
Totally.
really, yeah. And it really makes it special for the people that are there so they can feel it. But it also, of course, is combining with things that are familiar to them, things they're comfortable with. There are certain legal things that must be done in any ceremony anyway. So, yeah.
When it comes to the getting down to the culture and a wedding,
Yeah.
a couple of quick questions before we run out of time. Are there certain vows that are very distinctive to the Hawaiian culture? So that's my first question. The second is, you mentioned musicians. Let's say I really want a truly authentic Hawaiian experience within my ceremony. I want Polynesian fire dancers. I want this. I want that. Is that something we could add to it?
So, okay. What was the first part of your question? The
Vows.
vows. Oh, the vows. So the vows. So typically, I have vows that are sort of more. Well, they're pretty modern, but they're more traditional vows. We bring in the Hawaiian elements at other parts of the ceremony.
Okay.
So like there's a lei exchange, and I explain what that means. There's a Hawaiian ring blessing. There's various places. But of course, I always allow my couples, if they prefer, to write their own vows if they wish during the vow part, or they can also say something and then still repeat vows after me if they really want to. But in terms of like the Hawaiian, like bringing some authentic Hawaiian experiences in. We have had certainly, so we have, I have work with a whole team of Hawaiian musicians. One of them was our next door neighbor for a long time. And now he's formed an entertainment company and they provide our musicians. So you can get that with like a ukulele player and they sing and it's beautiful. But he also, I have had hula dancers. Fire dancers you cannot do in certain places. It's fire.
That was, I just threw any,
Yeah, but
that was the first thing.
There are ways to do that at a private home, FYI, later if you want to. But yes, we have even had like hula lessons at a wedding for people that really had that experience. So it's pretty cool. There's a lot of ways to do that, and I have a lot of great connections with folks who are just spectacular, and really, I feel so lucky to know them and have them.
And you addressed it, the fire dancing that was, just I can't even picture that on the beach in terms of legality. I'm good as long as I get my poo-poo platter. Then everything is great. You throw me some poi, we're going to be all right. If you don't know what that is, look it up. Poi is an acquired taste, as I learned when I was in Hawaii a couple of times. Wonderful talking with you. It is, I feel like I'm there with you. I really do.
Oh, yeah.
Like
I'm so
wonderful
happy
vibe.
to hear that. Hopefully you can come sometime and just soak it up. And for those of you that thinking about coming, just always look for, there are good flight deals. Be prepared. it is definitely more expensive than, we're on an island, literally the furthest populated island from any other part of the land mass. I'm not saying that right, but we're like the furthest away from any other place in the world here. So just realize that it will be costly, but it is worth it. And so if you're going to do it, just go for it. It's so worth it. So
you made it clear when you said last time we got together, the one thing to remember that if you want something, don't expect it to be here. Whatever fabric, whatever you need. Yeah. Amazon takes a couple of weeks. And my view is, well, all right, it's Hawaii. It's part of the United States. I'm sure the infrastructure is, it's all connected and good now. No, it's still an island. It's, somewhat a remote island when you think about it in terms of the mainland. Simple Kona Beach Weddings.com. That's your starting place. Even if you're pondering it, reach out. Becky's wonderful. Yeah. Maybe her husband will answer. You never know.
Probably not, but regardless, if you really wanted to chat with him, he'd be like, sure, I'll get on the line. But I do all the talking ahead of time. Occasionally, though, he'll like pop his head in on a Zoom to say hi to a couple if he has some thoughts on something, if he happens to be walking by the office. Gotcha. So.
Great talking with you, Becky. I really appreciate it. Thanks for the insight, and looking forward next time we get together.
Yeah, thanks so much, Steve. All right, have a great one.
You too.
Thanks. Aloha.
We'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.